Welcome back to Holy Script Stories, your home for timeless tales of faith and courage. Have you ever felt like you were in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or maybe, just maybe, you've wondered if there's a bigger purpose to your life, a hidden destiny waiting to unfold. Today, we're diving into a story that will challenge everything you think you know about being in the right place at the right time. It's the story of a woman who was thrust into a position of unimaginable power, faced with an impossible choice that would decide the fate of her entire people. This is the story of Queen Esther. Our story begins in the ancient Persian Empire, a vast kingdom ruled by the powerful King Xerxes. Among the many Jewish people living in exile, there was a beautiful young woman named Hadassah. Orphaned at a young age, she was raised by her loving cousin Mordecai, who treated her as his own daughter. They lived a quiet life, their faith a private treasure in a foreign land. Mordecai had given her a Persian name, Esther, to help her blend in, a detail that would soon become critically important. One day, King Xerxes, in a fit of rage after his queen Vashti publicly defied him, decided to find a new queen. He issued a decree. All the most beautiful young women in the kingdom were to be brought to the palace for his consideration. It was a royal beauty pageant on an epic scale, and among those chosen was Esther. You can imagine the fear and uncertainty she must have felt, being taken from her home, from the only family she had ever known. But Mordecai gave her one crucial instruction: do not reveal your people or your family. So, with a brave heart and a secret identity, Esther entered the palace. Inside the palace walls, Esther found favor with everyone she met, especially Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the women. Her grace, humility, and inner beauty shone brighter than any cosmetic or fine garment. When her turn finally came to go before King Xerxes, the Bible tells us in Esther chapter 2, verse 17, that the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Just like that, the Jewish orphan girl from the provinces became the queen of the most powerful empire on earth. It seems like a fairy tale, doesn't it? But her real story, her true test, was just beginning. Meanwhile, a dark shadow was falling over the kingdom. A man named Haman, an arrogant and power-hungry official, was promoted to be the king's second-in-command. The king commanded everyone to bow down to Haman, but Mordecai, faithful to God alone, refused. He would not bow to any man. This refusal filled Haman with an unquenchable rage. When he discovered that Mordecai was Jewish, his personal vendetta spiraled into a genocidal plot. He went to King Xerxes, filled his ears with lies about the Jewish people, and tricked the king into signing a decree. The decree was horrific. On a specific day, the 13th day of the 12th month, all Jewish people in the empire, men, women, and children, were to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. The decree was sealed with the king's ring, making it irreversible. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and cried out with a loud and bitter cry. The news spread like wildfire, and a great mourning fell upon the Jewish people. When Esther heard of Mordecai's distress, she was deeply troubled. She sent clothes for him, but he refused them. Through a messenger, he revealed the entire plot to her and sent her a copy of the wicked decree. And then he gave her a charge, a mission that would change the course of history. He told her she must go to the king to plead for her people. This was a death sentence. In the Persian court, anyone who approached the king without being summoned was to be put to death, unless the king held out his golden scepter. Not even the queen was exempt. Esther hadn't even been called to see the king for 30 days. Her fear was real. She sent a message back to Mordecai telling him of the law. His reply is one of the most powerful and famous passages in the entire Bible. You can find it in Esther chapter 4, verse 14. He said, For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? For such a time as this. Those words echoed in Esther's soul. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. This wasn't a coincidence. Being an orphan, being chosen as queen, keeping her identity a secret, it was all part of a larger plan. She was not just a queen, she was an instrument, a vessel placed in a position of power for a divine purpose. Her personal comfort and safety were nothing compared to the survival of her people. She had a choice to make: shrink back in fear or step forward in faith. Esther chose faith. She sent one final message to Mordecai. Go, gather all the Jews who are present in Susa, and fast for me. Neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will fast likewise, and so I will go to the king, which is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. What incredible courage. If I perish, I perish. She surrendered the outcome, placed her life in God's hands, and prepared to face the king. After 3 days of fasting and prayer, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace. When the king saw her, the Bible says she found favor in his sight. He held out the golden scepter. Her life was spared. He asked her, "What do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, up to half the kingdom." But Esther was wise. Instead of blurting out her request, she simply invited the king and Haman to a banquet she had prepared. At that banquet, she again deferred, inviting them to a second banquet the next day. This delay was strategic. It built the king's suspense, but it also gave God time to work behind the scenes. That very night, the king couldn't sleep. He asked for the book of the Chronicles, the records of his reign, to be read to him. And what story did he happen to hear? The story of how Mordecai had uncovered a plot to assassinate him, saving his life. The king asked, "What honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" The answer was, "Nothing has been done for him." The very next morning, the proud Haman arrived at the palace, ready to ask the king's permission to impale Mordecai on the gallows he had built. But before he could speak, the king asked him, "What should be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?" Haman, thinking the king meant him, described a lavish public ceremony. And then, the ultimate twist of irony. The king commanded, "Hurry, take the robe and the horse as you have said, and do so for Mordecai the Jew who sits within the king's gate." Can you imagine the humiliation? Haman had to lead his mortal enemy through the streets, proclaiming his greatness. That evening at the second banquet, the king again asked Esther for her request. This time, she was ready. "If I have found favor in your sight, O king," she said, "and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition and my people at my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated." The king was shocked. Who is he and where is he who would dare presume in his heart to do such a thing? And Esther, pointing her finger, declared, "The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman." The king's wrath was absolute. Haman was executed on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. And while the original decree could not be revoked, the king gave Esther and Mordecai the power to issue a new decree. This new law allowed the Jewish people to assemble and protect themselves, to defend their lives against anyone who would attack them. When the dreaded day arrived, the Jewish people were able to fight back, and they were victorious. Deliverance had come. The day of sorrow was turned into a day of joy, and the festival of Purim was established to celebrate this miraculous salvation forever. So, what does this ancient story have to say to us today, right here, right now? It teaches us that our lives are not a series of random events. Like Esther, you may feel that your circumstances are ordinary or even difficult. You might feel like an orphan in a foreign land, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But God is a master weaver, and He is weaving the threads of your life into a beautiful tapestry. Your unique experiences, your skills, your relationships, your position, none of it is an accident. Mordecai's question still rings true for each of us. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? You have been placed exactly where you are, in your family, your job, your community, for a purpose. God has such a time as this moment prepared for you. It might not be saving a nation from destruction, but it might be offering a kind word to a struggling coworker. It might be standing up for what is right in your school. It might be being a source of hope and integrity in your own circle of influence. Esther's story is a call to courage. It's a call to move past our fears and our comfort zones and to trust that God has equipped us for the challenges He places before us. It's a reminder that prayer and faith are not passive, but they are the fuel for bold action. When faced with her moment of decision, Esther fasted and prayed. And then she acted. Are you facing a difficult decision? Are you afraid to speak up or step out in faith? Remember Esther. Remember that the same God who positioned her in the palace and gave her the courage to speak is with you today. You have been brought to your position for such a time as this. Don't be silent. Don't let fear paralyze you. Embrace your God-given purpose and watch how He works through you to bring about His will. Thank you for joining us on Holy Script Stories today. If this story of courage and divine purpose has touched your heart, please give this video a like and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories from the Scriptures. And don't forget to share this message with someone you know who might need to be reminded that they too were made for such a time as this. We'll see you next time.